I'm John Adel-Steinson, VP Business Development at Men&Mice, and I have with me here Carsten Strootman,
hello,
who is a senior consultant at Men&Mice, and we want to talk about IP version 6 transition challenges. We want to cover questions: why IP version 6? What is it that enterprises and technicians need to do? What are the challenges they're facing? And also discuss the timing issues. When do we need to do something about it? And possibly if there are any tools available to help through that process. So my first question to you, Carsten, is people hear a lot about IP version 6. Why do we need IP version 6?
Yeah, IP version 6 was developed starting in the mid-90s to counter the IP version 4 address depletion. Now, because we have network address translation, IP version 4 address space lasted a lot longer than anticipated in the early days of the internet. But now we are actually facing the point where the last 3 IP version 4 addresses will be allocated.
When will that be?
Depending on whom you ask, it will be about 2011 or 2012, around that time frame.
So just over a year almost.
Yes, and we already see that big companies and ISPs, they start to stock IP version 4 addresses. So they now try to get larger chunks so that they have some spare for later.
Okay.
So experts, they see that maybe the IP version 4 address space will get much more used in the last months than over the years before. So there might be like a land rush on the last addresses available.
So is there kind of a black market for IPv4 addresses?
Not a black market, it's actually an official market. The IP registries, they have set up a market regulation how people can transfer IP addresses from each other for a cost, of course. There's a price tag to each IP version 4 address, which will be new because in up to now, IP version 4 address space was mainly for free. Yeah, you had to pay a little cent or for it, but it was virtually free for use.
But when IPv4 addresses are depleted, what does it mean?
I mean, for the ISPs, it's their business to create new servers and new machines. For them, they are the ones that are first hit by IP version 4 depletion. For the enterprise market and the end customer, it's not so obvious because enterprises today have a private IP version 4 address space that will not go away. I heard a good analogy a few days ago about what happened when IP version 4 depletion or when the last IP version 4 address is out. And that is like compared to your favorite music band. If your favorite music band stops bringing out new records because they break up, I mean, that will not change your life immediately. You can still listen to the old songs, but there will no new songs. In the same way with with the internet, IP version 4 addresses and addresses in general, they were the driving force for innovation. You need more addresses to allow innovation to happen. So we will see a lot less innovation happen if people are not able to get new IP addresses. And because IP version 4 addresses are going out, that new innovation will happen on IP version 6.
Okay, so IP version 4 depletion is comparable to if Rolling Stones would stop playing.
Yes, and maybe we see in 20 years from now IP version 4 remastered, but we don't know.
Okay. But are there other reasons why IP version 6 is interesting?
Yes, and I mean, that is very often overlooked. The main discussion on IP version 6 is often about the scarceness of IP version 4 and the depletion of IP version 4. But the designers of the IP version 6 protocol, they put actually some new features in that protocol which we don't have in IP version 4.
Yeah.
And these new features can be really good use. For example, Microsoft is bringing out with Windows 7 and Windows 2008 R2 new features like the direct access feature, or for the home users the home group feature, which
Yes.
are both based on IP version 6 technology. And for companies that in the enterprise, if they don't learn how to also use IPv6, if they don't have a plan for transition, they will probably fall behind of innovation because they cannot use these new features in their networks.
So in my case, for example, now on IP version 4, I have like 2 or 3 VPNs I'm constantly connecting to. Would that situation change with IP version 6?
Yes, because IP version 6 re-enables the end-to-end communication between machines. In IP version 4, this end-to-end communication is very often broken by network address translation. In IP version 6, we have the possibility to restore this end-to-end communication, and that makes a lot of stuff easier. Peer-to-peer networks, instant messaging, and also VPN connections.
Okay.
And a lot of maybe new technologies that might come, which have not been possible today because of the missing end-to-end connectivity.
Will it also, in some sense, make networking management simpler or even more complex?
Yes, it will probably be simpler. Of course, there is some bits to learn because some things are different. But if we talk, for example, about subnet mask and sizing of networks, there are very specific rules in IP version 6 how to divide your network and your network space that you have. And that makes it a lot easier to manage networks in IP version 6 than it is today in IP version 4.
Okay.
The smallest network in IP version 6 is a /64, and that are millions of addresses. And you don't need to calculate for the last IP address in your networks. You can just give whole chunks and you will never run out of addresses.
Okay. Okay. But what would a system manager or an enterprise IT department need to do to prepare for IP version 6?
My experience is that a lot of enterprise administrators, they fear IP version 6 because they have no idea what it will be to migrate or transition from their existing network and enable IP version 6 on top of it. Mainly because they have no good overview on their existing network. In the time when the company and the company's network was growing, they missed the point from the situation where they were able to manually manage the networks without tooling, up to the point where they needed the tooling to get a good overview.
Yeah.
And because they missed the point, there's now a huge backlog of things to do to get the network under control again and get a good overview. And this includes DNS management, this includes DHCP management, and also it includes management of statically assigned IP addresses, maybe to servers. There's a lot of people who do that still with spreadsheets.
Yeah.
But spreadsheets don't work very well in a distributed environment. They don't work well in a team. So the best way is to use the tooling, use a centralized database-driven tool that is aware of all the dynamic changes in an Active Directory-enabled network today.
Okay, so if I am such an enterprise and I don't have any specific, I missed this point of management, you said. What options are me now to jump on the bandwagon?
There are products on the market, like the product from Men&Mice, that can take the existing information that is already on the Microsoft DNS servers, on the Microsoft DHCP servers, make that visible in a central unified interface. And that is a huge step forward. And from there, the administrator then can plan the transition to IP version 6 by carefully looking at one network at a time, looking at all the devices in that network, make sure that they are all IP version 6 capable, and then can start the transition, enable IP version 6, one network subnet at a time.
Okay, but what does an administrator, in terms of the size of such a project, you know, assume I have like 5,000 employees in my company, is this a humongous project to address, or is this more of, you know, can I do it in a couple of days, or what can you tell me about that?
Getting an overview is, and collecting the data with a good tool is a matter of a few days only.
Okay.
Cleaning up Of course, that can be a little bit more work, depending on the status of the network. So, but good tooling is the point here. Don't try to do that manually. Don't try to do that just with command line tools and spreadsheets. A good tooling that gives you the overview is the key point.
Okay. But when should enterprises start to work on this in light of the depletion of IPv4 addresses, in light of also the new benefits of IP version 6?
Every enterprise also have some communication with the outside world. I have no enterprise that I know of that has no communication with the internet. IP version 6 will happen in the internet. They need to communicate with the internet. So they need at least IP version 6 knowledge on the border, like for direct access communication for the VPN. So the administrator should start learn about IP version 6 just now and start in a limited network part to get the experience and how IP version 6 works and how a transition can work. It's better to gradually learn and follow the internet, which will slowly now go to IP version 6, instead of just waiting more years and then have to do everything on like a few weeks or so, because there's a pressing, urgent need for it.
Okay. Okay, I think we've received a good overview from you, Carsten. You told us that IPv4 is running out, but there are some other good reasons for using IP version 6. And I guess your message is that you need to keep your existing or get your existing IP infrastructure under control before you can migrate to the new technology. And there are some tools out there, like tools from Men&Mice, for example. And if you go to www.menandmice.com, you can find out more information. Thank you very much.